So guys, the Cowboys are getting dangerously close to having the kind of roster that can make some serious noise in the NFC. Positions that looked questionable a few months ago suddenly have real depth. Young players are stepping up, and in some rooms Dallas actually has too many good options heading into final cuts. But there's still one part of this roster that I just can't feel comfortable about. And when you look at what could happen if even one thing goes wrong during the regular season, this becomes a much bigger concern than it might seem right now. So I'm going to break down the one problem Cowboys still needs to solve, because if they get this right, I think the conversation around this team in the NFC changes completely. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so before going into the major problem, let me tell you some good news, because this is equally important. Look around this roster right now, and almost every position group is deeper than it was a year ago. Running back used to be a question mark, and now it's basically settled. Javonte Williams gives you the power. Malik Davis gives you a little bit of everything: pass protection, patience, the ability to catch it out of the backfield, and Jaydon Blue brings the juice once he gets in space. That's not a battle anymore. That's just a rotation that works. And honestly, I think it's one of the better three-man committees Dallas has had in years. Each guy brings something a little different, and that kind of variety makes it tough for opposing defenses to key in on just one style of runner. And you know, the receiver is honestly the funniest example of this whole thing, because the coaching staff has a genuine headache on their hands. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Ryan Flournoy aren't going anywhere, but behind them you've got Jonathan Mingo finally looking like the guy they traded for a couple years ago, and Camden Brown, who's basically forced his way into the conversation as an undrafted rookie. That's the kind of problem. Every team wants too many guys who deserve a roster spot, and it's led to a genuine debate all preseason about whether Dallas keeps 5 receivers or stretches it to 6 just to avoid losing one of these guys on waivers. Then you look at the linebacker, and I mean, what a difference from last season. Jaishawn Barham has looked like a legitimate find in the 3rd round, reading plays fast, playing downhill, and showing up in coverage too. He's played with a level of instinct that you usually don't see from a rookie this early. No hesitation, no second guessing, just seeing the play and reacting to it. Safety is stacked with Caleb Downs, Jalen Thompson, and honestly Markquese Bell has quietly turned himself into one of those special teams aces you can trust, even if he's not the flashiest name on defense. And up front on defense, guys like LT Overton and Jay Toya have flashed enough in camp and preseason that the defensive line depth looks a lot more real than it did a year ago, when that room got exposed multiple times. So, when you step back and look at the big picture, most of these roster battles right now are between good players. That's a great spot to be in, and it's honestly rare for a Cowboys roster this deep into August. But here's the thing you have to talk about, because it doesn't fit the pattern. Cornerback is not one of those rooms where Dallas is picking between 2 guys they like. It's the one spot on this roster where I genuinely don't know if they have enough. And that gap matters a lot more in the regular season than it does in August, because injuries at corner get exposed fast when a good quarterback picks up on it. Now, I want to be fair here, because the top of the depth chart actually looks solid. DaRon Bland, Cobie Durant, and Shavon Revel Jr. are a trio that Dallas can feel pretty good about heading into week 1. Bland's been the guy for a while now. Durant's proven he can hold up on the outside, and Revel, being a rookie, has shown flashes that suggest he belongs on the field with the other 2 right away. Now, I want to talk about Revel specifically, because he's been one of the better stories of this preseason. He picked off a pass and made a handful of plays that show real ball skills, and a lot of that had to do with Jaishawn Barham occupying blockers and forcing the quarterback's eyes somewhere they shouldn't have gone. When your rookie linebacker is helping your rookie corner get an interception, that's a good sign for where this defense is headed. Revel still had a flag early in camp, which is normal for a young guy learning the speed of the league, but he bounced back well, and that matters more than one mistake. If he keeps trending this way, Dallas might have found one of the better value picks on this whole roster. So, okay, 3 corners you trust. Great. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, and this is really the whole point of this video. What happens the moment one of those 3 misses time? Injuries happen every single season. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when I ask myself who Dallas is actually comfortable putting on the field as that 4th corner, I don't have a confident answer. Honestly, I don't think the coaching staff does either right now. And that uncertainty is exactly why this deserves more attention than it's getting. The obvious name is Devin Moore, the 4th round pick from this draft. And look, I like the pick. I liked him coming out, and I'm not writing him off long term. He's going to make this roster because teams almost never cut a fourth-round rookie after one training camp. That's just not how it usually works. The numbers actually back that up too. But being on the roster and being ready to start are two very different things. In the preseason game so far, Moore's had some rough moments. He's had a play where he nearly fell down and gave up a chunk of yardage, and he lost contain on a touchdown run around the edge. Now, there was a hold on that play that should have saved him, but the tape still shows a guy who isn't ready to be trusted as your CB4 right now. He needs reps, he needs development, and that takes time. Dallas might not have if the top three get banged up early in the season. And here's the frustrating part. Nobody else has really stepped up to claim that job either. Guys like Caelen Carson, Butler, Ameer Speed, and Derion Kendrick have all gotten opportunities in camp and in these preseason games, and none of them have done enough to make me feel good about handing them real defensive snaps if Dallas needed it. It's not that any of them have been terrible, it's just that nobody has separated from the pack. When you're watching the backups run through drills, you kind of find yourself thinking, is it this guy? Is it that guy? And you just don't land anywhere with confidence. It's the kind of situation where you almost want somebody to just take the job so you can stop wondering. And right now, nobody has done that. This is really what separates cornerback from every other position battle on this roster. At receiver, at safety, at running back, at defensive line, the conversation is which good player are we going to keep, because there's more talent than roster spots. At cornerback, the conversation is completely different. It's who can we actually trust if we need him. That's not a battle for playing time, that's a search for reliability, and those are two very different problems to have. One is a good problem, the other one keeps you up at night as a fan. This is exactly why Todd Archer's latest roster projection on ESPN caught my attention. He projected that the answer to this problem might not currently be on the team. Archer even specified this would likely be a smaller move, adding a free agent or working out a small trade, not some blockbuster addition, which tells you this isn't just internet speculation. This is something people around the building are actually thinking about too. But you know there are some trade rumors on the internet involving Joey Porter Jr. out of Pittsburgh. I know a lot of you have been hoping for something big there, and honestly, this one has actually picked up steam lately. Porter's stuck in a contract standoff with the Steelers right now. He's sitting on the physically unable to perform list, and Pittsburgh's own head coach has openly admitted they're at an impasse with him. That's the kind of situation that can eventually lead to a trade. But even with all that, I still don't think this is the move for Dallas. He's a Pro Bowl caliber corner still on a rookie deal, and the price to get him, both in draft compensation and in what you'd owe him long-term, would be massive. That's not what Dallas needs to fix a CB4 problem. That's overkill for a spot that just needs competence, not a big name. Unless Pittsburgh gets desperate, this is a storyline to watch, not a realistic fix. It makes for a fun headline and a lot of comment section debate, but when you actually weigh the cost against what Dallas needs, it just doesn't line up as the real fix here. The much more sensible path forward is something smaller and cheaper. Watch what happens around the league when final roster cuts hit. Every year, good corners get let go by other teams because of numbers, not because of talent. And that's usually when a team like Dallas can scoop somebody up who instantly becomes a better option than what's currently on the roster. A one-year deal, a modest trade, somebody with starting experience who can slide right into that CB4 role without needing months to develop. That is the kind of move that actually solves this problem, and I think it's a lot more likely than people realize, especially once we get closer to the roster deadline and teams start letting veterans go. So here's where I land on all of this. When you look at this Cowboys roster as a whole, it's genuinely one of the more complete teams they've put together in years. That's a lot of boxes checked, and it's honestly a nice change of pace from where this team was a season ago. But cornerback is still the one spot that isn't finished, and if Dallas doesn't address that fourth corner spot before week 1, it's the kind of thing that can turn into a real problem the moment one of those top 3 guys goes down.